Hello fellow punters, and you're all very welcome to another weekly Bookie Basher show with yours truly Mickey D, and shortly I'll be joined by my old buddy the Stig, where we're going to keep him busy today. I hope he had his Weetabix this morning because we have a lot of stuff to get through. We have our usual format of notebook horse, whatever tickled his fancy. We're going to do day 4 of Cheltenham, what he thinks of his views at this present time before a big weekend in the Dublin Racing Festival. And then we're going to do Saturday and Sunday. We'll get him his views on the 4 grade ones on Saturday and the 4 grade ones on Sunday. I'll also have a couple of selections, and we'll see how it goes. So there's a few things first I get out of the way. Newcomers on the bus: Mark Boylan, George Godfrey, Morris Jones, Japs 88, Paul Dempsey, Christopher Hinsey, Neil Mason, Donald Fahey, Fred Baylor, David Huntley, and Colm Collum. He's like New York, New York. He's so good they named him twice. So you're all very welcome. And somebody left a message to say about leaving a charity. Before the day is out, I'll be donating. Bob, our chosen charity for last month was for January was the Injured Jockeys Fund. So seeing that it's the turn of the Irish Jockeys Fund, I'll be donating €100 today and to the Irish Jockeys Fund, and 50 to the English Jockeys Fund. And I would ask Bob R to choose some passenger to make a selection for the next month. And thank you all. To generate the money, all you have to do is listen to a few ads when you're reading the comments or in your spare time. That generates a few euros that we generously give out into chosen charities. So we'll get on with the show. We'll go to the Stig first, and we'll ask him what did he put in his... No, what tickled his fancy in the past week.
Mickey, a few horses tickled my fancy this week, and the first horse up is a Paul Nicholls horse called Stage Star. I thought he was very impressive in Cheltenham on Saturday in the 12:10, and Harry Cobden gave this horse an absolute peach of a ride from the front. What I liked about Cobden in the race is he knew when to kick on and he knew when to fill the horse up, and he used the horse's jumping to put the other horses to the pin of their collar. He's been put up £10 to 152, so he'd probably have to take the graded route now. If he was mine, I'd probably skip Cheltenham and head to Aintree with him. The next horse that tickled my fancy was a horse called Ashro Diamond. I put her up as the nap last week and was very happy with her performance here. I felt Danny gave her enough to do to win the race, leaving it till after the last to really send her for home. Having to switch wide and pick up again, I'd mark that performance up. I think she's a class mare who will give Lucia enough to think about in the mare's novice. The next horse that tickled my fancy was a horse called Found 50 for Gordon Elliott. He was impressive in Fairy House, beating Parmenion of Willie Mullins's by an easy 9.5 lengths. This horse was turned over at very short odds in Navan in a bumper a few months ago, but made no mistake with his first start over hurdles, and I would say this fella is pretty useful. He beat Tagman by 15 lengths the last day, and Good Land beat Tagman by 8 lengths. So Good Land is 2-1 favourite for the Nathaniel Lacey the weekend, so it'll be interesting to see how that form works out. The last horse that tickled my fancy was a horse that we all know and a horse we all love, which is a horse called Princess Zoe, and she ran Punchestown on Monday, and I thought she was very eye-catching as well. She pulled hard and travelled with plenty of freshness early on in the race. Her jumping was a bit sketchy at a few hurdles as well, and she was headed inside the final 100 yards, but still battled on and would not be beaten to force a dead heat finish. I think both of these mares are useful, and I think there's plenty of positive to take away from Tony Mullins' Wonder Mare's performance.
Thanks for that, Stig. And now we'll go to the next segment, which is what did we notebook in the past week. I put one in my notebook. Ladybank, trained by Henry de Bromhead, owned by Honeysuckle's trainer Kenny Alexander. That dead heated with Princess Zoe on only its second start. It's a 5-year-old by Balco, and it was 10 lengths back to the third, and the favourite Pink in the Park, it was well gambled on, was 5th. So it's a good start to her career, and it's a horse I'll be following closely throughout her career. So Stig, have you any horses to notebook since we chatted you last?
Yes, Mickey, I have an eye catcher this week, and unlike the previous couple of weeks, this horse was actually a winner, and a horse called Pont Audemars. This horse was well found in the market, being backed from 11s to 3 to 1, and the horse won with plenty in hand and will go in again. Gavin Cromwell is very good with these punts. When you see a lot of money coming for a Gavin Cromwell horse, I definitely take note and really keep an eye on it, because he usually lands quite a few of them. This is definitely a horse to keep on the right side of over his next couple of runs, as I think he may run up a sequence.
Thanks for that. Now we'll get on to looking ahead to the Friday of Day 4, Cheltenham. The first race we'll look at is the Triumph Hurdle. It was won last year by Vauban. It is a 6-4 favourite. 4 favourites in the last 10 years. 7 of the last 10 winners were Irish trained. Willie Mullins trained 2 of the last 3. The anti-post favourite is Lossiemouth, who's running tomorrow. It's a horse you mentioned a couple of times previously in your parts on the show. What is your feeling about the Triumph Hurdle?
So this week we take a look at Day 4 of the Cheltenham Festival, starting off with the Triumph Hurdle. Now, Lossiemouth is your 11 to 8 favourite and is deserved favourite for everything she has done so far. I have backed her in both her wins so far, but I think she is just about short enough at her current price. She has won 2 slowly run contests, and in a race like the Triumph, which can often turn into a bit of a burn-up, I'd be happy to take her on at her current price. The horse I've taken her on with is a horse called Blood Destiny. I think this horse has plenty of ability and has done nothing wrong so far. I really like his jumping and backed him prior to his last win at 14 to 1 for the Triumph Hurdle. The market should take a bit more shape after the weekend, but Lossiemouth will probably win there. She's quite short to do so, with some unknowns like Gust of Wind also running in the race. So that's an unexposed Willie Mullins juvenile there as well. But for me, it would have to be Blood Destiny at the prices against Lossiemouth for the Cheltenham Festival.
Come on, and we'll rock on to the next one. The Albert Bartlett is 3 mile for novices. It was won by the Nice Guy last year at 18 to 1. There's only one favourite in the last 10 years, and that was in 2013 at Fisher's Cross. Rebecca Curtis trained, A.P. McCoy was in the saddle. There has been an 18 to 1, 2 14 to 1s, a 50 to 1, 2 33 to 1s in the last 10 years, and 5 of the last 6 were Irish trained. 7 of the last 10 winners were Irish trained as well. 4 of the last 6 winners were 6-year-olds, and the other 2 were 7-year-olds. 2 5-year-olds have won it since 2005. So either a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old has won this 15 out of the last 8 times. What are your feelings on this year's renewal?
Next race we're going to look at is the Albert Bartlett, and this year the Albert Bartlett is fairly open, and there's a lot of horses sitting in the Ballymore market who will switch to this race as we move closer to it. My pick for this race at the moment would be 3 Card Bragg. I've backed this horse every time he's run this year and think he's a big staying horse with a big future. He went down by a neck to In the Pocket and then went on to hose up last week over 2 Mile 3, beating Willie Mullins' horse Spanish Harlem. When the going gets tough in the Bartlett, I think he'll be there battling all the way to the line. He's currently around 8 to 1. I also backed We've All Been Caught for the Bartlett a few months ago at 40 to 1 after his run against Hermes Allen in Cheltenham. So I'm hoping he runs a good race in Leopardstown the weekend, and hopefully he's staying on all the way to the line and gives himself a good chance in the Bartlett.
On next to the big race of the week, the Gold Cup, 3 miles 2 and 70 yards, and that 70 yards always comes into play. Plutard won it last year, trained by Henry de Bromhead, and Henry won it also the year before in with Manilo Indo. 7 of the last 10 winners were Irish trained, and that's a big change from when I started off watching the Gold Cup first and punting. We were rarely getting a place. Bravesman's Game is an 8-year-old, is 10 to 1 as the King George winner, has won 6 out of 7. Galop de Champ beat Gentleman's Game by 12 lengths when they last met in Punchestown in April 21 in a hurdle race. What is your call on this year's race as you see it now?
Moving on then to the big race of the week and the big race of the Friday, it's the Gold Cup. So this horse and this race, revolves all around one horse, which is Galopin Des Champs, and will he stay or will he not? The horse has such a high cruising speed and jumps so quickly, they'll be hoping for him to settle a bit earlier than usual like he did in John Durkin. He looks the most likely winner, granting he stays, but Statler is a horse I think that is underrated, and his run in Tremor was not as bad as people made it out to be. He was given Moinella Indo £10 that day. The horse won a 3 mile 6 race in Cheltenham, and Townend asked him to quicken in Tremor after the last, which is polar opposites really in what he's going to be doing in Cheltenham. So these two would be mine for the Gold Cup. I think Statler will definitely give Galopin Des Champs enough to think about. Even at the weekend, I could see Galopin Des Champs winning easily, but in Cheltenham, that extra 2 furlongs could find out Galopin Des Champs, and I think Statler will be there staying on the whole way.
Thanks for that. Finally, on day 4, we look at the Mare's Chase. It was won by Ellie Mayo last year, and it was won by Colreevy the year before. It's a strong renewal this year. Allegor de Vasse is 4 for 4, says Johnny Willie Mullins, 2 over hurls and 2 over fences. And Impervious for the new owner JP McManus and Colin Murphy is 3 for 3 over fences. What is your take on that? Because I know both of them horses are 2 that you mentioned in your notebook and horses to follow recently.
Moving on to the final race of the day, we're looking at the Mare's Chase. This race is one of the most interesting races of the whole festival for me. The Mare's programme gets a lot of stick, but I think it is one of the races that I quite enjoy, and I've enjoyed a lot over the last few years. Allegory de Vassy is a strapping mare and wouldn't look out of place upsides the geldings, and I think she's a huge talent, but she will have to brush up her jumping now that she kind of goes into more open company. Impervious is all guts and is a massive contender here also. She has proven herself across the year so far, and probably deserves to be favoured for the race, and if she was trained by Willie, she'd probably be the even money favourite at this stage. Scarlet and Dove is the season campaigner and was probably unlucky not to win this race last year. She'll be banged there again, but if I had to choose one, I think it will be Allegory de Vassy, because I think that she has the most scope for improvement out of all these mares.
Thanks for that, and we'll see in 4 weeks' time what changes you might have made to your views. We continue on now with the big racing weekend tomorrow in the Dublin Racing Festival. There is 9 declared runners for the 120. It's a Group 1. Goodland is the 11 to 4 favourite, followed by Quais de Paris, who is a bus horse. We tipped it up, and when it won, we got even money, went off 1 to 5. Actually, I think we got odds on that time, or odds against. We've all been caught over from England. I have Quais de Paris backed each way at 11s, so because it's a bus horse, so I'll be hoping that that runs well. I see it's into the Albert Bartlett. Next race up is the 155. It's the Juvenile Hurl. Lossiemouth is the hot odds-on shot. It's a horse you've mentioned before. What's your views on that?
So what a weekend of action we have coming up with the Dublin Racing Festival, and kicking us off, we're going to have a look at the Spring Juvenile. Lossiemouth is definitely the deserved favourite. She's done absolutely nothing wrong so far and has been really, really impressive, and she really caught my eye that day in Fairyhouse when she won her first start for Willie Mullins. She was very impressive again the last day, beating Gala Marceau, so I can't see that form being reversed. But the horse that I would take a stab at with this race is Gust of Wind, an unraced horse of Willie Mullins coming from France. I'm not saying that it will beat Lossiemouth, but at 14 to 1, maybe without the favourite, that's what I'm going to do in that race.
Next we look at the Arkle Novice Chase. It looks to me like the race of the weekend. Willie has 6 out of the 8. He has 21 in the entries in the 4 between the 4 races tomorrow, 4 Grade 1s and the bumper tomorrow. Stable jockey Paul Townend picks appreciated. I know you were sweet on Dice or Dynamo. How do you call that tomorrow?
The next race we're looking at is the Irish Arkle, and this is definitely the race of the year so far. It's going to be an absolute burn-up. We're looking at horses like Dice Art Dynamo and Appreciated, Flame Bearer, and a few more who are really going to set this race alight, and it's going to be a cracker for us to watch. I think Dice Art Dynamo is going to buck out. He's going to go as fast as he possibly can, and I think if his jumping holds up, he'll be quite hard to catch. Appreciated has a massive engine and obviously won a Supreme and was chucked into Champion Hurdle last year, but I don't think his jumping is quick enough, albeit he has a huge engine, and it's going to be a very close race. The horse that I keep an eye on in the race at a bigger price is Flame Bearer. He was with Pat Doyle last year, and it took him a while to get into the groove of it. But he won his second start over fences this year, and I think he'll have improved for that.
The Gold Cup is the big race tomorrow, 3:05, Galloping de Champs, another Clonsutton inmate is the hot favourite. What's your reading on that?
The next race we're looking at is the Gold Cup, and it is headed by none other than Galloping de Champs, a horse that's really captured the imagination of the racing public over the last 2 years. This horse was obviously going to absolutely hose in last year in Cheltenham, and he takes the step up to 3 miles here. Leopardstown will suit for his first start, being a flat track, but a horse that I think that will give him enough of it in Cheltenham is Statler, and I speak about that earlier on in the show. So I think Galloping de Champs will win, Statler will probably come second, and I think any second now will be staying on into third.
In the handicap hurdle race tomorrow, up near the top of the market, we have 2 buzz horses there. We have Perceval Legallois, who was beaten by a short head below in Listowel when we were on him, and Jungle Pros, who has won 4 for us, 4 in a row, was beaten the last day in a great race in Limerick, but the ground was totally against it. I'm giving a selection tomorrow on that. I'm going to go with Perceval Legallois. It'll be better and better ground. Maxim has gone up £18 from 120 to 138. Perceval Legallois has actually dropped a pound. I see Keane Kirk is riding Maxim. He's taken off 7. He has only has 4 rides, I think, in Leopardstown previously, and he hasn't had a winner. So it's a big day for him tomorrow. So Perceval Legallois is my selection in that race tomorrow each way. And then in the handicap chase, there's a horse there to Get My Drift. I tipped it up a couple of runs back, and the handbrake was fully on. Final Orders has won a few for us. We deserted him the last day, and he won. But I was very impressed in the Danmore chase with Rebel Gold. It followed the front runner Dunvegan from the start, a confirmed front runner who had previously won the race the year before, and it's gone up £8 for it. But it won on the snaff, I thought, and an each way selection there is 5-1. So we could do a small each way double on those 2 as well. In the bumper tomorrow, my choice of that is Chosen Witness. I was impressed with it the day it ran in Limerick. I was in Limerick that day. I know the ground wasn't hectic, but Jody Townend stays with it. So I know Patrick Mullins has gone with Fact nor File, but this will be out and bowling along in front. I was impressed the way it picked up. So that would be my selection. On to Sunday. Mighty Potter. I said the other day, I mentioned that it was 9-4 at the time. It's gone into evens now, I see there. It's 5-4 with some of them. Buzz Horse won the Drinmore for us. Very big race that for us that day. What is your views on that, Stig?
Moving on to the 2 mile 5 novice on Sunday, and I'm going to stay loyal to Mighty Potter here. I really like this horse. I think he's a huge engine. I think he's a real raw talent. And I think that Gordon Elliott is going to have him at his best, because Willie Mullins has lined up a battalion to take him on. But I think Mighty Potter will have the scope to improve past his Drinmore. I can't see Galliard de Menil, turning him over. But the danger will be James Duburley stepping up and trip. Willie has got to split all these novices. I think he'll be the likely one to throw down the biggest challenge to Mighty Potter.
We have the champion hurl then. Won the last 3 years by Honeysuckle, and both of them are rated the same, Stateman and Honeysuckle. He's rated 167, she's 165, so she's getting the £7, so she's £5 well in. I'm going to side with Honeysuckle actually tomorrow, or Sunday. And finally we get on to the love of your life, Stig, Facile Vega. I think I might do Irish Point without the favourite. I was sweet on it the last day, I tipped it up, and the lack of hurdles in the finishing straight might have hindered its chances, I thought. What is your views on it?
The last race that we're going to look at here is Facile Vega's race, the novice hurdle, and I think he will have to be at his absolute best here. I'm a big fan of Facile Vega, but his jumping will have to be a lot slicker here, and I don't think it's going to be as clear as the price tag or the prices suggest. He's a 4-9 favourite. I think it's going to be a lot harder than a 4-9 price would suggest. He's going to have to be very quick and accurate at his hurdles and show his ability to, I suppose, run consistently across the whole race and not in snatches over the hurdles. But I do think he would win, and I think the main danger to him is Dark Raven, his stablemate. Daryl Jacob takes the ride for Simon Munir and Isaac Swade, and I think he'll be the one to follow him home.
Thanks for that, and thanks for all your efforts in the past few days putting all that together. And we are coming to the close of it. There's a couple of handicap chases on Sunday. If I can, I might do a video tomorrow evening. If not, I'll add them to the description in this video. It depends, because I'll be travelling tomorrow. Anyone that, if they want to meet up after the first race up near the pre-parade, the Sadling enclosure up there, that's where I'll be after that race to see Lossiemouth, and then we'll be up to see Dicer Dynamo and the race after.
So my selections this week, I'm going to kick us off with the Nap, and it's going to come in the 140 in Leopardstown on Sunday. I was waiting till the final decks came out for Leopardstown today before napping this horse, and the horse is Mighty Potter. I napped him for the Drinmore a few months back, and I am staying loyal to him to get the job done on Sunday. I can't see Galliard de Menil reversing the form of him, and I think he's a much better chaser than Hurdler, and he will take all the beating here. My next best is a horse that runs in the first race in Leopardstown on Saturday, and it's a horse called Quais de Paris. At the time of recording, Paul Townend has been jocked up, and Willie had a twinkle in his eye with this horse at the start of the season. He started off over 2 miles on heavy ground on a tight track like Tremor, and I don't think this saw him at his best. So he's always been a horse that Dave saw as more of a staying type, and to step up 6 furlongs on Saturday, I think with a bit more of decent ground underneath him, I think he'll be banged there. He's currently priced at 7-1. My next best is a horse that runs in the 340 in Leopardstown on Saturday in the big handicap, and it's a horse who finished up behind Envaux Allen in a champion bumper a few years ago, and it's a horse called Blue Sari for Willie Mullins and JP McManus. This horse ran a lovely race behind Gaelic Warrior last time, and Townend is jocked up for this race, so I would suspect that he's not just out for a spin with an eye to Cheltenham. At 10-1, I think he's a great each way bet, and with 5 places, I can't see him out of the places.
A bit rushed towards the end, but the 50 minutes is nearly up on my section of it here. I could add more to it, but we'll go for this week. So thanks for watching, and bash the bookies. Over and out.